Hey guys, are you ready to quilt area 10 on the BERNINA Rulerwork sampler? We're doing clam shells today, and clam shells are a lovely design that create a great texture. They do require a bit of marking, so I tell you how to mark for clam shells on the PDF document that you can download off BERNINA's website, and I'm going to be stitching 2-inch circles in my clamshell area. And this opening measures 2.5 inches, which means I'm going to be able to stitch a 2-inch circle right there. So I'm going to begin at the edge of my sampler, and actually what you'll notice is this is the basting line that will later be hidden in the binding area. So the actual bottom of the design is actually the blue line that's right on top of it rather than the red line. So that's actually my bottom clamshell line. So I'm going to start right over there, right in the bottom on the blue line, and bring up my bobbin thread. Hey, one thing I should say is if you're working on a domestic, some people find clamshells are easier to work from top to bottom, and some people find side to side. So experiment with the different directions. On a long arm, you really have to quilt whatever direction the clamshells are oriented on the quilt, so you get pretty used to quilting in all directions. I have gone ahead and taped 2 rulers together for stability here, and on the back, I have some extra pieces of tape. I do like to use Westerly staple tape on a lot of my rulers, but since we're taping together and untaping on these, I'm just going to use painter's tape right now, and that does work in a pinch. So because I'm stitching on the inside of the circle, I am making sure that my tape doesn't interfere with the inner line of the ruler. It's okay that it hangs out on the outer edge since I'm not using the outer edge for this design. And I just slip on my ruler like this. If I was using the frame set that doesn't have the opening, I'd start my thread in the center of the ruler, okay? Now I'm just quilting a semicircle, and I want to make sure, this is really important with clamshells. Let me see if I can zoom in. Do you see this next line? That's the next line where my clamshell base is for the next row. I want to make sure that this clamshell just kisses that line, just touches that line. I don't want it to be shy of the line because then it will create a problem when I go to stitch the next row. The 2 rows won't touch. So instead, I want to make sure that I get right on that line. Now, these clamshells are pretty small, so I'll probably stitch all the way around to one pass. But if I have any struggles at all, I will switch to the method we used in the previous area and stitch just from that point to that point and stop and realign my ruler before stitching from this point to that point, okay? It's entirely okay to do that, and probably if the clamshells were bigger, I would do that right now. Okay, so I'm going to stitch my semicircle now. You'll notice I'm actually, because I'm fortunate enough to have stitch regulation on this machine, I'm going to change my stitches per inch up to be maybe 11 or 12 stitches per inch. I want it to be a little tighter because the curve's a little tighter. If I was on a domestic, I would do the same thing. I'd just have my stitches be a little shorter. Oh, I just ran out of bobbin thread. I have rethreaded my bobbin thread, and I'm starting to stitch again across the row. Remember, my baseline's that blue line, not that red line. The red line is my basting line that is going to be hidden in my binding. Let me just move that over a little bit. A scallop. I have my camera mounted on the handlebars of the long arm so you can see, but when I move my handle, sometimes I move the camera inadvertently, so I have to watch out for that. Got lost in my quilting world. I'm sure you guys know what I mean about that. Now, I have to get up to the next row, okay? I have 2 ways of doing that. I can stitch back up to the top of my clamshell, then come back up here and stitch the next row. Or I can stitch up the side of my block. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stitch up the side of my block. No one will ever see that. And I'm going to begin to stitch scallops going back. Okay, so that down to find my first scallop, and then again I'm going to be mindful that I hit the next the top of this row so that I don't run into problems later. Okay, I'm going to do the next row. So I'm going to complete this area and then meet you back here, and when you're done, this is what the clamshell area should look like.